Hello and welcome to this little video where we're going to be trying to predict some of the questions that are going to come up on the Edexcel GCSE Maths Paper 2 2019 calculator paper. Now we've already had the non-calculator paper, which was yesterday, Tuesday the 21st, and from that we were able to collect some information about questions that had already come up on that paper and get a little bit of a better idea about possible questions that could come up on the remaining two calculator papers, Paper 2 and Paper 3. So what I've got here is my first draft of possible questions that I think could still be lurking out there and could potentially be on Paper 2 and 3. So in my first draft here I have 14 topics or potential questions that I think you should look at in preparation for the calculator Paper 2. With the new exam that came in 2017, we saw that algebra was actually being mixed with a lot of topics. In fact, there wasn't really a topic on the syllabus that algebra couldn't somehow infiltrate. And I think that's really come out of an overreaction, you could say, to a complaint in the past from students that, well, what is the point of algebra, and how am I going to need this in the real world? Well, in creating this or reforming the syllabus, they've gone a little bit over the top in terms of trying to push the point that algebra relates to everything, and so nearly every other topic on the syllabus is potentially subject to algebra infiltrating into it. And what we've had in recent years is not just with algebra, but with other topics, mixing the two topics to form like a duet. And it's this mixing of topics that has presented itself as quite a challenge for students. If we look at this question 21 here of the 2018 GCSE Maths Paper 2, we see that it looks like a question about density or compound measures, and then suddenly they bring in the notion of limits, so they're combining limits with compound measures, and then throwing in at the end a suitable degree of accuracy request just to finish it off. So it's this combination of topics that you also have to watch out for. So having said that, if we just have a quick look through our list here, we've got standard form, because you're going to be on a calculator paper. This will really just require you to understand how to use the little times 10 to the power of button at the bottom of the calculator. I will follow this up with a more detailed video where I'll do some actual questions for these predicted topics. Linear simultaneous equations, well, we talked about that. That could just come up as a straightforward question, or they could wrap it up as a problem and even link it to another topic like nth term. Compound interest, yes, compound, sorry about that. Compound interest, it could just be that they want you to find out the interest, or like we saw, maybe they'll reverse it, add some algebra in, so you could be finding the rate, or you could be working back to the principal. So a reversal or involving algebra would make that more difficult. Reverse percentage, standard question, nth term, again could be mixed with algebra. Trigonometry, SOHCAHTOA. Standard question is just going to look like this with one triangle, but watch out for the more difficult ones that maybe appear later in the paper, where they attach a couple of triangles together or even have a quadrilateral on the side. Often when they use two triangles, you'll be working from one triangle into the other triangle. Makes it a little bit more difficult, you get a few more marks. Reoccurring decimal to fraction, it is a standard technique. If you have learnt that technique, you have a good chance of getting this right. If you just try and wing it or do it intuitively, it's going to be very difficult. Especially if they give you one like this, 3.125, the recurring just on the 2 and the 5. But if you can learn the technique, then yes, you have a good chance of getting those 2 to 3 marks. Change in the subject, it's just algebra, rearranging, probably involve factorization if you're doing the higher tier paper. They often do. Quadratic formula, yes, I haven't written the square root sign there, and the 2a on the bottom, but I think hopefully you get the idea. Square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Obviously you have your calculator, but quite often they'll make you use that formula, so you do write out all your workings. That's the only way you can get all the method marks, and they'll probably ask to a certain degree of accuracy. Histograms. Now this is a straightforward histogram where they give you the frequency density axes calibrated. A more difficult one is where you have to calibrate it yourself using some information from the table. One thing you have to remember about frequency density is frequency density equals frequency divided by class width. This will often be required to calibrate your axes and sometimes even to work out, if you got a table here, and your frequencies, they're all given, to work out your frequency densities. Circle theorem. A number of rules that you have to know, around about 6 to 7 rules, and here they often ask show. So you've really got to show the steps you took for 3 marks to get to that point. So it requires good, concrete logical argument. You have to remember also that if you're talking about an angle, you must use the 3-letter system to describe it. So if I want to talk about this angle in here, don't just call it angle D, call it angle C to D to O, and put a little hat there. Or you could write it at the front, C, D, O. So if I walk from C to D and then to O, boom, there's the angle. Try and label your angles in terms of 3 letters, and an angle sign either there or at the front. Venn diagrams, a very trendy, popular question at the moment. It's come back onto the syllabus after being off for many years. As far as we know, it didn't come up on paper 1, so look out for that. Paper 2, or maybe paper 3. And vectors, our old friend vectors. You could get an easy question on vectors, which is just asking you to describe the vector from one point to another, or one point to another to another. And then you could get other more difficult ones where we're using ratios, or possibly where we are proving that 2 lines are parallel to each other or collinear. So I hope that's been of some help, and look out for the follow-up video which will detail some actual worked examples of the mixing of topics that I'm talking about.
And I hope you found this video useful. For more videos like this, please be sure to subscribe to our channel, the link to the right. If you are looking for some one-to-one help, check out the link in the description below where you can have test lessons with either myself or another member of our AP team. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching.